With the increasing number of graduates struggling to find work, it's becoming all the more important for students to know where to go for careers advice in order to secure employment. Here's an interview with the Guardian Careers content editor Kerry Eustice and content coordinator Alison White. So how did Guardian Careers begin?
The former editor had an idea that, was seeing that there's quite a big job-seeking community, and it'd be good to pull all this stuff into one place and give people the opportunity to talk about what they're doing and share advice with each other. So, gosh, 3, maybe nearly 4 years ago, was it, Ali?
Well, no.
It was pulled into one site, and the sort of commenting function, all the forums were set up so people could have that conversation with each other about their careers.
When was it decided that the site needed a graduate focus?
It was a trickle, people just posting things about, I need some tips, should my CV be 1 page or 2, and then it started getting more detailed. After about a couple of years, there was lots of problems for graduates who were having, real issues, and this was kind of on the cusp of the recession, people taking years almost to break into a sector that related to their degree, and that's when we decided that the site needed a graduate focus.
And what's Guardian Careers' public response been like?
Yeah, the public response has been quite good to the kind of content we're offering, and people are quite interested in sharing their stories with us, and we always want to make it a two-way process really, and a lot of good feedback that people just like knowing someone's there. I think we've got quite a nice little community out there.
Yeah, I think Ali's point about having a space to talk about it, job seeking can be quite a frustrating experience. Even though you seek advice from people, it's something you do on your own. You're writing about it yourself, you're looking for jobs pretty much on your own unless you're kind of using a service.
And what crops up as the most important when job searching?
I think the one that comes up again and again is just tailoring your applications for every job, because I know when I started out I was quite guilty of the blanket approach, just thinking if you send 50 applications someone's gonna hit somebody, but the kind of point that a lot of experts make is that's the kind of biggest waste of time going, because if you spend all that energy on one good application. And I just think that's my mantra. It's worked for me, and every job I've got is just spending good few hours. It feels horrible, especially if you don't get the job, but you can kind of learn from that.
I think that is just so true of all the kind of experts we've had in, or grads that have just got their first job, and we kind of asked them what they did. They picked a company that they really wanted to work for, researched them as much as they could, spent loads of time finding out what they did, and that they were a good fit for that company. So it was where they really wanted to work. They knew what work they did and how they would be able to contribute something. And then spending like an entire weekend making sure that your covering letter is spot on, and all the people across all the sectors, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
have definitely done that.
Do your kind of industry research. If there's kind of specific magazines on that sector, look at the share prices of the employer, and sort of taking this into interview as well, so it's not just the application, it's actually really getting to know the company inside out, because it shows you're interested.
And even when you kind of say, why do you want to work for us, in an application you shouldn't just say, I really want to work for you. I think it has to be really specific, the detail that you give, what it is about that company, or what the work that they produce that is right for you, and what you think you can deliver, and not as in kind of I'm willing to learn, what you can actually contribute to a company. Right for you, I think you kind of come out of university, and not for everybody, but a lot of people are kind of, I've got this degree now, what really can I do with it, and kind of working out what is the right thing to do, and the questions to ask, and how to work out what company you should go for. There are really big firms that we all know about and that we all probably want to work for, but are they definitely going to be right? And we try, don't we, to profile alternatives as well. So there are kind of well-trodden paths in, but to highlight new jobs that are emerging. So like social media has kind of exploded in recent years, but there are ways to get into different sectors. So we do try and profile some of the plan Bs, or just different steps.
And you could always move back in later on, and just because you've taken a different job that's not on your kind of ultimate career path doesn't mean you've written off that kind of direction forever.
It's taking steps, and you can, like Ali said, you can always come back to something.
From my own career, I think I would have been terrified in my first day on my first ever job. I walked into the Guardian and went, wow.
Have you seen an increase in those studying at a postgraduate level?
Yeah, we have.
I think what people are hoping is kind of, it puts off the job search for another year, but they'd be hitting the job market a lot more qualified, and just hope that at that above level. But it's interesting, because I think I've read elsewhere that some people say, it might be better actually to get a year's work experience, depending on what your sector is and what you want to do. but I think it's just really individual kind of circumstances, and looking at maybe even asking employers, like, would you look at someone with an MA kind of more favourably than someone with a BA, on what kind of skills could I get to exceed in this job. You know, I think postgraduate really helped me, but it was very focused to what I wanted to do, and it was sort of vocational practical training.
Like Ali says, a lot of employers are coming out and saying what they value is that practical work experience more. So maybe kind of setting your own project up, if it suits your sector, is an option to consider.
And finally, what would you tell your former self if you knew what you know now?
I think you can always kind of push yourself a bit further and develop what you're doing, so you should never kind of think, I've reached the kind of pinnacle of my capabilities or my skills. Look at everything that you do and think, how can you improve it? I guess that's kind of the editor in me now, looking back, and you know, how can I make this sentence tighter? How can I make my CV kind of communicate my skills better? And I think you've always got to make sure that you're talking about your achievements, because you know, people will notice, but if you say, look, I've done this and it's resulted in this, even when you're just going for a job, you know, really backing up why you deserve an opportunity. I think I'd always say, you know, don't just rest with what you have and just keep pushing forward. Think about opportunities being in a place where you least expect to find them.
To sign up for the Guardian Careers Update and get careers advice, industry insights and question and answer reminders direct to your inbox, you can find the link at careers.guardian.co.uk.